Your project is set up, and now we're ready to begin completing the first step in our dimension data flow, which is a stage process. We need to collect data from a data source, move it into our destination, and load it into a stage table. So let's get started by logging in. After logging in, you're going to be redirected to your project list. By default, the last project that you worked on is going to be your current project. However, if you need to change your project, click the detail link adjacent to your selected project and then click Set Current. Okay, I want to quickly mention that during this video, we are going to be working in our SQL Server test environment. So if you have an environment set up, great, please use it. But if not, don't worry about it. All the resources you need, even if you can't access the SQL Server environment right now, you will have all the resources you need available for download at the same location where you're watching this video. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, just check the description and that'll link you back over to the LeapFrogBI support page where you can actually download these resources. Okay, so the goal of this video is to create a single stage component. And again, the job of the stage component is to collect data from a data source and load it into our stage table in our destination environment. However, LeapFrogBI will never establish a connection, neither to the source or the destination. So somehow, we need to tell LeapFrogBI what we want to have staged. And this is done in the form of a profile. We're actually going to create a profile and upload it to LeapFrogBI. There are a couple of different ways to create a profile. In this video, we're going to be using the bulk profile generator. You can find this generator by hovering the stage menu item and then selecting bulk profile. Now we're viewing the bulk profile upload page. On the top of this page, you'll find a link to download the profile generator that's appropriate for the target system that you selected for your project. I'm deploying to SQL Server 2016, so I'll download the profile generator for SQL Server 2016. Now, you want to save this profile generator to your target environment. I really like to keep things kind of organized, so I like to put this in the same parent directory as I use for my deploy location. So I'm going to click the link and download the archive. After saving the archive, we can go ahead and extract its contents and then go ahead and delete the archive. Let's take a quick peek at what is included in this download. We have two really important files. One is an Excel file, and this is where we're going to place some configuration information. And the other is a little exe. This is an application that's actually going to generate the profiles for us. Then there's a couple of other files, a UDL and a README. We'll be talking about these a little more later in this video. Now, before we can actually create a profile, we need a data source that we can profile. And as we discussed in a prior video, we're going to be using the same instance of SQL Server as our data source and our destination in this training series. So what we need to do is on the page where you're viewing this video, or if you happen to be viewing this on YouTube, you'll find a link in the description. Go to the bottom of this page and download the resource that's called LFBI sample _CRM 01. This is a SQL script, and the script it's a very simple script. It's going to create a database for us, and it's going to load that database with some data. So I'm going to go ahead and open Management Studio, and then open up the LFBI sample CRM 01 SQL script. All you really need to do is execute this script by clicking Execute or F5. Now we can see that we have a new database after refreshing our database list called LFBI sample _CRM 01. And this, of course, is just a very small database that has the general schema as a CRM system would typically have. Okay, now we have a database that represents our data source, and we have everything we need to generate a profile, so we can begin actually creating that profile. But what do we want to profile? Well, typically, we're going to want to extract some portion of our data source to create some target object, in this case, a dimension, specifically a product dimension. Now, instead of taking the time in this video to go through all the requirements gathering steps and figuring out, well, which of those requirements can be met by our data source, we're going to just act like all of that upfront architecture work has actually been completed already. And we're going to download another script, again from the resource section of the page where you're watching this video. And the script is called product_source. Now, after you download this and we open it up in Management Studio, we can take a look at what's actually in this script. It's a very simple script. Basically, it's doing a couple of things that really aren't all that important, but what it's doing is it's denormalizing a couple of tables. We have a product list table, and then we have a product group table. Well, the product group table actually has a parent-child relationship to itself, so we're flattening out that hierarchy. And we're also joining that back to the product table and getting the latest modified date across all of the different records involved in the join. All of that is really irrelevant. The point of this SQL statement is just to say that some research has already been done, and this is the data we want to pull from the source system. If we execute this SQL statement, we see that it returns a small data set. And this is the data set that we want to provide the profile for to LeapFrog BI. Okay, we have a data source, our sample CRM database. We have downloaded our profile generator, and now we have a SQL statement that represents the data that we would like to actually stage. Now what we're going to do is create a profile based on this SQL statement. So I'm going to copy this SQL statement to my clipboard and then go back over to the download contents and open up the profile generator Excel file. Now, this Excel file lets you generate a number of different profiles at once. We're just going to be generating one, so I'm going to delete everything except for the first definition row. We're also going to be creating a very simple profile so we can get rid of everything to the right of D. So we can get rid of E, F, G, and so on. So in D, that's where our source SQL expression goes. In here, you need to enclose your SQL statement in quotes. So I'm going to enter quote, paste my SQL statement, and then another quote. That's it. In column C is the product name, or the profile name, excuse me. Here we're going to call the profile product. We are going to keep column A as an OLADB type of profile because OLADB is a very simple way to connect to SQL Server. But in column B, we need to provide a connection string. Now, you can create your connection string however you like. You can edit the connection string you see here. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to show you another way to create a connection string. If you go back to the download contents and open up the UDL file and then click on the Provider tab, what this UDL file will do for us is it'll create a connection string for us. So go ahead and select the SQL native client provider because that's what we use whenever we created our connections in a previous video. And then click the Next button. Input your server name, which if you don't want to type it, you can go back over to Management Studio, click Connect, and then copy the server name here. Paste that into your UDL server name. Select the authentication method. I'm going to be using Windows authentication, so I'll make the first selection here. And then hit the drop down for the database list. As soon as you see a list, you know the connection was established. So we know we have a valid connection. Now, here's the little trick. Go back over to that UDL file and open it up in a text editor. I'm going to open it with Notepad. And you'll see that what you actually have in this UDL is a string it's actually a connection string. So I'm going to copy that connection string portion, which is everything below the second row, and paste that into my connection string field for the profile definition. And that's it. Now our profile definition is ready to be generated or to be used by the generator. So we can save this Excel file, close it, and now what we're going to do is open the profile generator. Now, you might get a warning whenever you try to open this profile generator, like you see here, Windows protected your PC. Anytime you download contents from the internet, you have that risk. To solve this problem, go to the properties of the exe, and on the bottom of that dialog, you'll see an unblock button. Just click that button, the file will be unblocked, and then you can try again to open it. All right, so the profile generator executable is very simple. You don't have to install it or anything. Just click on it, it'll open up and run, no problem. And it takes two inputs. The first input is that Excel file that we've been working on. So select that file. And the second input is the location where you would like the profiles that this tool generates to be saved. So we're going to save them in the same location actually as our Excel file. Click the Create Profile button, and the application will go ahead and generate a profile for every record in your configuration Excel file. Now you can see this profile is just an SSIS package. You can open up the package, you can look at it in Visual Studio. It truly is just a simple SSIS package with a connection manager and a data flow. It doesn't actually do anything, but the reason we're using an SSIS package is because this package is actually what collected the metadata that we need to provide to LeapFrogBI. All right, so we don't need to go into too many details here. I just want to make sure you understand this is just a simple SSIS package. Now what we need to do is to upload this profile to LeapFrogBI and create a stage component. So to do that, let's hover the Stage menu item and select Create New. Again, you can see there's a number of different stage component types you can create. We're going to be creating a SQL Server native client stage component. So I'm going to select S1000. This will redirect you to the component creation page where you can provide a name. I'll name this one Product. And then if you scroll down, you got a couple of other settings we need to provide. 2 connections, one for the source and one for the destination, which we've actually named 2 connections, so same things, source and destination. So it's pretty straightforward to figure out which one goes where. Then we need to browse to that profile and upload it to LeapFrogBI. Now, when you select this profile and click Upload, it actually is going to upload this profile to LeapFrogBI, and LeapFrogBI is parsing that SSIS package to be sure it's valid. You get a message back saying that it was successful, and then you can save the component. At this point, our stage component is created. If you want to look around, feel free to do so. You can click on the component detail button, and you'll see the details of this component where you can view the individual fields, the data types of those fields, and so on. Also in this component detail area, you can find the profile source query. The same query that we used to create the profile, you have access to it here. It can actually be edited as well, as long as the structure, the output structure doesn't change. You can look at individual fields if you would like to get more information about the data types, or there's a number of different properties here, statistics collection, which we'll talk about in the future. You can even build an individual component by clicking the Build button. Once you build a component, you'll see this. There's a little box here that'll turn a different color. If the build's successful, it'll turn green. And you can actually view that build if you like, and download that build. If you click on this green button, it's going to show you the exact code that's being generated by this component. I can search for things like some of the DDL, such as create table, and I can see, here's the DDL that's going to be used to create the target for this particular component. Or I use values in the SQL source statement, so I can find the values keyword there to find the source SQL. So you can feel free to investigate this, look around all you like, get comfortable with the component. All right, so we've met our goal. We now have a stage component in place. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and build out the rest of this data flow so we can get our product dimension loaded. And we'll do that in the next video.